Hello and welcome to Perspective. 13th August 2013, the night when we celebrate independence of this country. Before I break into the topic of tonight, I need to mention two great losses this year. I believe there are very few people in Pakistan of that caliber of whom we've lost. And unfortunately, sad to say, but I don't think we've created replacements for these people. One, Mr. Faisal Qureshi, may he rest in peace. And just last week, Mr. Qureshi, again, may he rest in peace. These are two people whom I've learned a lot from. I have done shows with them. And all I can say is that when I think of calling people for those particular topics, I can't think of anyone. They were intellectual, they were historians, they were just phenomenal people, kind, loving, polite, linguists. I have never heard anyone speak Urdu the way they did. And I remember Mr. Faisal laughing one day and saying if he, Mr. Qureshi, or Mr. Arif, may God give him life and health, were having a conversation, they could speak for hours and we wouldn't even understand a word. It'd be absolute pure Urdu. And I believe that because I've experienced that with him. Both of them did great shows with me. And one show which I must mention today, which is available on YouTube, is about the national anthem. We have a misconception that Pakistan's national anthem is in Persian and not in Urdu. I'm saying that for a purpose. It is in Persian, but it is in Urdu. Not a single word in our anthem is not commonly used in today's Urdu. The fact that Urdu comes from Persian, Arabic, and Turkish is a different discussion. But every word in the anthem is really a part of commonly spoken Urdu today. My apologies for saying this, but if you don't understand that, then you need to take a look at your Urdu. It's not a problem with the anthem. Anthem is amazing. And Mr. Faisal did one show with me where he explained each word, each line of the anthem over a span of an hour and a half. So if somebody's interested, it's available on YouTube. Just want to take these two names and honor them because Independence Day celebrations were sort of synonymous with their names. And they used to come on TV a lot. They used to speak of the history of Pakistan. They were very patriotic. And they invoked those feelings of ownership. When I say the word ownership, I say for a purpose because now today I feel that maybe we have lost that ownership. Without taking a name, of a diplomat I was talking to about a couple of years ago, and in a very candid conversation, he said, "You know what's wrong with Pakistan's next generation?" I said, "Please tell me." And he goes, "They're not patriotic, and we would like to help Pakistan's next generation feel patriotic." And I felt ashamed and sad that the diplomat from another country is going to teach my young people to love the freedom of this country. And I got upset, and we had this argument, in a friendly way. But today, when I look back, maybe he was right. Maybe we have lost that ownership, that sense of patriotism. In Urdu, I'll have to say I don't think I can translate this in English. Ya Rab dil muslim ko zinda tamanna de, jo qalb ko garma de, jo ruh ko tadpa de. That tarap in our ruh, that shiver, that tremor in our spirit, in our soul, is just not there. Why is it not there? That is the question. Are we free? Do we feel free? Do we believe we're free? Are we honoring our freedom today or not? That is my question for my guests tonight. On my far right, a dear friend, is Hira Shah. Thank you very much for being here. Regular on our show, Mr. Bilawal Khuso from Zibas. Bilawal, thank you very much for being here. Another very dear friend, a girl I respect tremendously for various reasons, Ms. Kulsum. Thank you very much for coming out here. Young gentleman from Greenwich University, Mr. Ali Malik. Ali, thank you very much. And Ms. Ariba Shah, again from Greenwich University. Thank you very much for being here. Kulsum, I would like to take a moment, to talk about her. Just a quick moment. I used to work with a lot of young people and try to give them ideas of how they can have better personalities, how they can present themselves better. And this young lady I met in one of those sessions, and I actually have pictures of you.
I do remember.
One of the most graceful young women I've met in this country, and kudos to her for that. Hira, I met in a play about 3 years ago at a college. It was a 14th August play, and phenomenally acted, very patriotic. That play actually had me in tears that afternoon. So thank you for this lovely, lovely experience and memories. Hira, I'd like to start with you. Are you free? Do you believe that you're free? Are you using the freedom of this country as a free citizen of Pakistan?
Well, if I talk about myself, I would say yes, I'm one of those privileged few who are free, who can say whatever we want to whoever we want to. But yet again, if I'm speaking for the people in Pakistan, no. It's not that we aren't allowed to say what we are supposed to. It's this fear that if we express ourselves, we won't be able to live the way we want to. There have been times, and I would like to quote it, if there have been times in very recent history on topics that have been quoted as blasphemous that we wanted to speak on, and we wanted to say this is wrong, this is not what we believe in, and we may be able to even prove it. But yet again, we weren't able to because it was a very hushed topic. It was, you can't go there. It is something which is scary, which is dark, and you shouldn't go there. So yes, if I talk about myself, I'm free. But for the people, no. It's just the fear. It's not that we don't think. It's not that we don't understand things. It's not that we don't know how to speak. It's just this fear that if we speak out, what is going to happen to our family?
So what you're saying is, as individuals, you're free, but as a collective, maybe the environment is not free.
Yes.
Bilal, I'd like your comment on it, but just one thing, Hira. We are an over passionate people.
Yeah.
And thus, in our passion, we have sort of destroyed any possibility of discourse. There is no discussion. There's no negotiation. My way, or I'm going to kill you.
Exactly.
If I can't, at least I'll beat you. If I can't beat you, I'll at least scream at you. So we have lost that patience, unfortunately. It's a good point. I'd like to hear more on why is that and how we're going to change that. Bilal.
I think as a nation we are free, but the freedom is actually a delusion that we've been given by the society. It starts from the very age when you're a kid. You're supposed to go to a certain school, and then you're supposed to get a certain level of education, and then the society starts judging you on the basis of your grades. That you have to get certain grades in order to fit into the society. If you don't get good grades, you'll be judged on that you're a duffer and you're not intelligent enough. For that matter, I think when you get past through that, you get into your college life, then you have an aim that I have to get admission in a particular university in order to get a good job. Then when you get a job, when you get done with the education, you have to get a job. After the job, your relatives, the society starts judging you.
Your life path is laid out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Then they start judging you on what's your salary package. What's your salary package? Which company? What are your privileges? Then you have to get married. After the marriage, then you have to have babies. And then when you have a baby, then the cycle repeats itself. And then at the end of the day, they tell you that you are free. So I think the freedom is lost. You have to find yourself that what you find freedom in.
Okay, you do realize this is not the only country where things like this happen.
Yeah,
even in South Korea, Taiwan.
Exactly.
A lot of countries have this domestic life cycle where parents are still old-fashioned, but that does not take away. I know, maybe it does. I don't know. You're not being given that freedom of choice and thought. Yet it does not take away the power to choose and think once you become adult.
Exactly. No one's forcing you to get married at a very young age. Or no one's.
Going beyond the family. Beyond the family.
It's just that the kind of the vibes you get from your surroundings, that affects a lot. No one's forcing you to do anything, but there are certain things that you absorb from your surroundings and then you act accordingly. So I think the surroundings act a really big deal in it. That what are you doing with your life?
The judgments that come from around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, how would you take it?
See, as far as the freedom is concerned, what I believe is we are free. We have been given freedom in so many things. There's freedom of speech. You go out on the road, if there is any problem or something, you can scream at somebody and no one is going to come to you and you are not accountable to anyone. In that matter, we are free. We are free to talk. We are free to hang out. We are free to do a lot of stuff on our own. But circumstances have been created. Let's suppose if I'm allowed and if I'm free to buy a mobile phone, I'm not obligated on that. But I cannot use it freely, or I cannot, show it as a possession of mine and carry it around in the city, because at the end of the day, it's something that's going to be snatched from me. That's the Could be. Sorry for being so pessimistic, but yeah, circumstances have been created like that. And as far as usage of internet is concerned, you just mentioned that I can watch the video on YouTube. Unfortunately, it has been banned for a month now.
Sorry.
So now people are going to immediately move towards proxies and the other means of, accessing the website that is completely banned. Now, what about the freedom that is supposed to be there? Freedom of accessing to the information. We have been, allowed to access the information. But if the IT ministry doesn't allow us to watch something productive just because of the fact that there is something that's inappropriate on the internet, doesn't mean that we are not supposed to access that information.
Okay, but then, I don't see any demand for it. I see a demand. I see a demand for not having it, a very vocal demand that says no. I don't see a strong demand saying yes.
That's the influence. That's the
That's a fear factor.
Yes, very much.
But you weren't scared of raising the topic here right now.
Not at all.
So but it's not the fear factor.
Also,
Depends.
if needed, people who want to use YouTube, they just go on proxies, download hotspot shields.
So whose fault is that?
That's our fault. I don't disagree. That's definitely our fault.
Voices
yeah, we
for our
don't.
own rights. If we don't raise our voices, nobody's going to stand up for us. Just like when we were discussing this in our classroom once, that girls, should know their marriage rights and nikah nama rights. There are things that should not be cut down from it. And at the end of the discussion, our teacher asked us that, all the girls right here, would you stand up for your rights? And except for me, there was nobody else who said that, yes, I would. Because they were like, no. What would my sasral wale say? Oh, she's like this, she's like that. We are suppressed. We're not free.
I don't think
it's a
suppression
delusion.
Is it suppression?
Yes, it
I
is.
don't know about suppression, but freedom itself is a very broad term which needs to be studied, because yes, we have freedom of media after 2002. Yes, we have freedom of speech. Yes, but you need to look at certain things. Are we free from our parents' control? Are we free from universal?
Is any society free from the parents?
Okay, fine. Are we free from mortgages or bank loans or just any sort of loans that we take? Or are we free from society itself, from being judged? No, we're not.
Are we free as a nation? Let's just question that. Are we free as a nation?
As a country?
As a nation.
Well, you
Let's
have
talk about
to elaborate.
Don't you feel a foreign country might be dictating the local
that's
politics?
That's why I asked you.
But that happens in half the world.
I know, but then again, sovereignty is questioned, is it not?
Again, half the world.
Yes, it is.
And are we free as a nation? We're having drone strikes day in and day out.
Half the world.
July itself was the most.
Yeah, but half the world.
That's not the
But
point.
that does not take away. When I say half the world means that is not an issue which takes away from you, a young, intelligent, educated, smart man, the choice, the freedom of choice, and the freedom of thought.
Freedom of choice.
Nothing is stopping you from, even if your parent is dictating you and you have to obey because that's our culture. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You must. But that still does not mean that you can't be diplomatic about it. I wanted to raise that with you. That no, we can't. Well, you don't have to take people head on. You can be diplomatic about it. Nothing's stopping you from freedom of choice. and freedom of thought.
But definitely, but one thing which our society is like, it's more towards girls than it is towards guys, is judgmental. How
I agree with
judgmental
that.
our society is.
I agree with that. When you said, what will people say? Because it's not suppression. When I said, are we suppressed? You know what it is? We do not have the confidence.
We have the confidence. But
Then
you know
you
what?
can't be judged.
No, yes. Because wherever we go, we have friends, we have family, we have relatives, and there is suppression. You cannot disagree with that. It's like,
So
it's like
is it
becoming an
suppression?
ostrich and putting your head in mud
But I'm
and pretending that there's nothing
I'm just
around
commenting
us.
on the word suppression. Suppression is, I don't agree
We are,
with
we
that.
are, we are,
I think I'd say it's not suppression exactly.
It's an extreme word, but
Yeah. I mean, I just want to define it. I don't know. It's not
Peer
even
pressure,
peer pressure.
society
It's
pressure,
just
parental pressure.
we, the youngsters, are actually very much confused in what to decide for ourselves, either to obey our parents or not, either to be on the footsteps on our friends or not. See, we are very much influenced by so many factors because we have a lot of exposure in universities, at home, outside,
The problem is
anywhere.
that when we are at home, we're taught that you are supposed to be a very Islamic sort of person. You're supposed to do this and do that and whatnot. And then you go into your school when you're studying with guys, and there's not an issue with that. You head back home and they're like, okay, you aren't supposed to go out with them because they're boys. So what happens is, this is what we questioned in one of our courses. We were actually being taught that about natural drives that happen in youngsters. And we're talking about one of them, that there's a need for a relationship that comes into with the youngster as soon as he becomes an adult. And then she was making, our teachers teaching us that you're right, that it is not allowed in our culture to date and all of that. And like, I'm sorry, but ma'am, you're teaching us something which is totally opposite, totally contrasting. You're telling us it is our natural need and drive, and then you're telling us that no, you cannot marry at an early age because it's not established enough. Yet again, you cannot date anyone because no, that's not in our culture. So we need to understand that we need to decide where we're heading for. Do we want to follow? The thing is that when we talk about marriage in Islam, it does not say it ends your life. The problem is that marriage here ends our life.
Exactly.
Right? It says
But this is
not.
recently married? Not
No,
so recent though.
that is something that is perceived. That once
I think
I do
we
this,
have double standards in our society.
Exactly.
If you're a guy, you won't be judged if you go out with a girl. If you have a relationship, your family will acknowledge it, and your family will be like, "Acha hai beta, तूने अभी से लड़की चुन ली अपने
my
लिए."
main cousin.
But if you're a girl, then you'll be judged upon it that, oh, you're going out with a guy, you're characterless.
Okay, that
Exactly.
gender-based double standard, I fully agree. I've talked about it for years. I agree.
Also, that depends on household to household. Granted, it's a very small ratio, but some parents are very liberal with their daughters. It's a very small ratio, I agree.
Okay,
But then again, it's there.
We've completely digressed. I need to take a short break, and I'll come back to freedom and choices. When I talk of freedom, Mr. Talat Hussain, actor, may God give him life and health, another great asset of this country. In one of my discussions, he said, he asked me, what is freedom? And I gave the typical, the answer. And he said, freedom basically means, in Urdu, said, khud ihtisabi. You are free to hold yourself accountable. When you are not a free country, when you're not a free people, whoever is your ruler tells you how you will behave. You're talking about Islam, you're talking about marriage, you're talking about relationships, all that's great. But there's no dictator, and I don't mean the political dictators, there's no one who rules you or owns you and dictates your conduct. You're free to decide what's right and wrong for you. Have we used that choice well or not? All the things you said are fantastic excuses and reasons for not doing half the things we can do. So let's talk about what we can do, and have we understood the freedom of choice? And let's take a short break. staying with this watching perspectives on this discussion, and what I was trying to explain here, in my humble opinion, is that we have to work within the confines of a society. Whatever the moral values are, the social values, cultural values, we have to work with them. Our parents are a certain way, her parents are a different way, his parents are a different way, and we all work within those. We handle them, we manage them, we manage the arguments, we manage fight. But and Nariba threw this question, what is freedom? Freedom, I believe, and that, in my humble opinion, is the need for today, is the way you conduct yourself, the way you stand tall, the way you represent yourself, the way you speak, the way you show who you are to the world, the way you present it. That's freedom. I mean, I've done current affairs journalism for years, and one day I said, that's wrong. I'm showing the wrong side of the country. I don't want to do that. Here comes an English channel. I said, boom, this is what I want. And I've got this exposure to the world, and I can express and show them a different side of the country. So I had that freedom to make that choice, and I make my choice. So I would like to reopen this discussion, and when we started from a different approach. You are free. You may not be free to dress a certain way, but you're still free to behave a certain way. And we are misbehaving. Why? We may not be free to use YouTube, but we're free to put in good content about your country, your family, yourself on the internet. Why aren't we doing that? We're complaining about what we don't have. Why aren't we using what we do have? And we do have the freedom to use that, please.
First of all, I would like to say that yes, we don't. And that's mainly because I think there's a certain role of media as well involved here.
Absolutely.
What we do is that we project negativity on a continuous basis. You open up a TV channel, you see bomb blasts, people dying. You never see something positive. There is a village called Rasulpur, if you've heard about it.
Absolutely.
Rasulpur, 0% crime rate, 100% literacy rate. No garbage in the whole village. Nothing at all.
Sure. It's a phenomenal project.
More than, I think, 50 PhDs, doctors, engineers, girls are studying, boys are studying, everybody's studying, everybody's moving ahead.
And you don't get to hear about it.
Yes, exactly, you don't get to hear about it.
But
such a small village. If they can do it.
Sure, but my point is, when you say that media, I take responsibility, I'm media. I'm not showing it. It doesn't fit my agenda. I'm going to put it that way. What's stopping you from using this in 2013 and just going out, 5 of you, and presenting it, promoting it, pushing it? This media is now marginalized. It's neutralized. You are an immense force. Have you understood your power?
Exactly that. I was waiting for this question. Because, when we raise our voices as a patriot, as a citizen of this country, people say, what a fool, idiot.
Right. And then?
Nothing's going to happen.
And then what happens?
And and then there are like 5 people, if we go out as 5, we return as 5 people back. That's it. Nobody's going to be there. Nobody's going to, support us. Nobody's going. If people don't stand up for themselves, you can push them for it, for going out and you do something for yourself. You cannot push somebody to do something. You can tell them. You can tell the difference. Okay, this is right and this is wrong. But you can push them.
You 5 go out and 5 come back. Is that discouraging?
Yes, it is.
And then you give up.
No, you don't give up. You keep on trying.
But they don't even bother with it. Then don't even invoke it. Why bother? It doesn't matter. You're responsible for what you did. You're not responsible for who heard it.
I think charity begins at home. We need to start influencing our friends about the positive things in Pakistan, and then acknowledge the fact that there are some positive things around us, and then we should be appreciating them, that they should go out and tell their friends about it. But I think this whole process that we've gone through since the past 10 years was a long process, and it might take some time to undo it.
Which is, what do you mean? Who do you mean? The media.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sorry.
The actual owners of this country don't want citizens who are capable of critical thinking. They want, I'm sorry to say that, but they need people who just are who are smart enough to fit into the 9 to 5.
I'm going to interrupt you again. Stop telling me the problems and the reasons, and they are who they are. They are doing whatever they're doing. There are things you and I can do. You are free to do them. Just tell me why. And if you're doing them, great. If not, why not? That's what I want to hear. You want to ask me? Please.
I wanted to add here in his point that yes, he's correct somehow, because I have this teacher and we were like studying something about the history of Pakistan, and I am the only person who's like offended at the end of the class, and I go like, why do you say such negative stuff? He tells us the history and he says, आपको distorted history पता है? आप लोग सिर्फ golden words पढ़ते हैं. You don't know the real history. And he keeps on telling us, these are our teachers. When I was in school, I used to remember, I remember that, our teachers used to tell us, love your country. Don't say we are Sindhi, we are Punjabi. Say you're Pakistani. You're a Pakistani. Right now, no. And that teacher is a very old journalist from Dawn.
That's okay, man.
Yes. Just to mention here,
that's okay.
Know somebody.
See, what's with us is we have a very high level of demotivation if we are going for a project.
Demotivation.
I don't know why. But
we want to be demotivated.
No.
I would give you 5,000 words of motivation. They will have this impact. One word of demotivation. You love it.
Actually, no.
Ali was waiting to jump on me. Thank God he stepped back. He was about to go.
See, I'd just like to complete it here. If we are going out for a project, let's suppose we are making a documentary or something at the village, and we come back, nobody pays attention to it, and it's perfectly fine. If media is not, wanting to invest time and effort in projecting that project, it's their fault, not ours. We made our part. We tried our level best, and let's move on. Let's move forward, because this is the time. Because time is never going to stop, and there are tons of opportunities out there. There are tons of resources available that we can utilize. I mean, social media itself. I know for a fact, since past 3 or 4 years, there have been so many projects. Just by sitting at home on the internet, you can spread so much positivity.
Okay,
so you can help out a lot of people.
Okay, I want to ask, Ali, I'm going to start with you. What's your plan? This is where we are. We can complain about it till the cows come home. It doesn't, it is what it is. What's our plan? Because either we can just lose the battle, or we can come up with a new weapon and take it on. So what's our plan? This is where we are.
Over here, I would mention a certain Azad Umeedwar from NE 250, Mr. Jibran Nasir.
No doubt.
He's the star of our show.
He showed what can be done. He's a simple man. He's a teacher, he's a lawyer, he works at a certain firm. But he showed that from being no one, you can actually be someone. His main tool was Facebook. He used Facebook to get his word out. And then when the Teen Talwar Dharna happened for the PTI rigging, he went there. He spoke and he actually showed himself. And I take him as a motivational. Okay, if he can do something, why can't we do something? He stood up to such big people, whose names I'm not going to take on the show, but he stood up to them. This little man. So if he can do something, why can't we do something?
Okay, he did nothing.
He
achieved
stood
nothing.
up. He's achieved. You can't say that.
Let me complete that. Okay. He's done nothing. He's achieved nothing. He's made zero difference. But don't get. He's his dear friend, so I'm taking this liberty. If he's watching, but you know what he's shown you? That it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. At least stand up for what you believe in. And more importantly, he did his homework. He had his numbers, he had his facts. I was asking, who's educating you? It almost seemed like he's being educated. Okay? So, but that's what you need to learn.
The thing is that the difference in objectives. If I begin something with the mind that I need, either I win or lose, I am going to get motivated and demotivated. If I have just like if we're taking the name of Gibran did not have this assumption. I don't think he even thought.
He will lose.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but he not once. I was one of the polling agents for him. Not once did I feel, even when we were repolling, that Gibran would say, "Guys, I know I'm losing, so give it a rest. Go party. It's okay." Till the end, I felt he was giving it his best. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get it to the end.
Very well said.
So what happened is, it was a difference of objectives. his objective wasn't to win or lose. It was his objective to make us realize that this can happen. You can make this happen.
I'm not going to even glamorize him by saying that, but I think he was just in there for the fight. Whether you win or lose is irrelevant. The thing is, did you put up a fight? Did you give it your 100%? Okay, very well said. Now I'm going to open that for you. I've got about 10 minutes. I'm going to open that. Are you giving it your 100%? You're complaining, and mommy did, daddy did, and the school did, teacher that, society did. But are you giving it the 100% that you can give? Now answer that question. Why not?
Once again, I wouldn't want to blame it on anyone. I think it's all on our... Yeah.
You're not giving it 100%. Why not?
See, if I talk about myself, I think I'm being way less productive. I think there are tons of things that I can do, but I'm distracted by so many things that I cannot focus in one direction. And if I put my facts together, and if I, see my life when I was working, and a lot of things that I was doing, I can do far better. With the amount of experience and with the amount of exposure that I already have, there are tons of things that I can do. Because, see, I've got friends who are in Pakistan, outside Pakistan, and there are so many collaborations that can be done. There are so many productive things that can be done for the people of Pakistan. I'm not talking about moving abroad and then for my own, for the entire country, or maybe just for a single family. If I'm trying to do something for a single family, just to empower them somehow, some way, I think I'll start contributing.
You said media is very negative. All that you've done for the past 38 minutes is tell me the problems. You've taken this opportunity to tell the world how bad things are there. Exactly. So let's talk about what's fantastic here.
I think the problem is that
No. I want to hear what's good. I don't want to hear the problem anymore.
Okay.
And I want to use, am I at the liberty of saying a bit about you?
Sure.
Where you live,
Please.
what you do?
I lived.
Lived, fine.
Yeah,
where you were born, raised, lived.
Absolutely.
The first time I heard where this young lady lived, I was like, are you serious? Born, raised, lived, Larry. Okay? See that expression like that? Yeah.
Wow.
And that's a place where you're working against the odds. I've seen pictures from a window for I think about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
While the battle is going on, she's taking pictures from a window. And that's where she's out from. And first I was like, wow. The only reason I'm invoking that is there are odds against that. The world is there to take you down. It's competition. If it was between you and him, he wants you down. If between you and her, you want her down. It's all right. That's the game, right? But that does not stop us from achieving, from getting out and doing what we can. So tell me, what are the opportunities?
I think
What's great?
The biggest weapon that we have is social media. We can search around positive things about Pakistan, tweet about
Be
them,
positive
take
yourself,
pictures.
sir.
Sorry?
Be positive yourself.
Yeah.
I think our biggest weapon is education, actually. Because education allows us to think, gives us a broad perspective of things, and it allows us to, we understand and study what's going on in successful countries, and then we can implement those within our country or within ourselves even, just for our personal
That's
usage.
music to my ears. That's music to my ears.
Education is definitely a weapon, but we need to educate ourselves on a lot of things that we don't get to see in universities or in school
In the
books.
book,
There are so many things that life is going to teach you. Experiences are going to teach you.
So that's what I just point out. Education, your degree is really just a tool that enables you to start learning. That's where the game begins.
Exactly. It's not the end.
That's where the game begins.
You keep learning. I mean, I know a few people, a few friends, fathers, they're senior bankers and stuff, and they tell us till today that we are still learning. They're 30 years into their profession, and they still say that we are still learning.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you're still learning, being in this profession after so
every
long.
night.
So, I mean, that's probably our biggest weapon.
And the day you stop learning is the day you should just look for a hole in the ground and do it over. Ariba, what's your plan in life?
I think one should become positive within oneself. Like, if I want to do something good for my country, I should start with myself, with my friends, with my family. One day I'll have a family of my own, my kids and everybody, and I can tell them, if our generation is confused, our next generation should not be confused. It should be very determined. It should know what they want. They should know what their rights are. They should know they can stand up for it, and they shouldn't be scared to speak for themselves. That is what I'm going to educate my children about.
What happened is, Faisal, that we looked at how can I make it's not wrong how I want to make my life better. But what if my step does not improve my life but of the upcoming generation?
Exactly.
The thing is that we plan on changing this country within the next 5 years. That does not happen. Your own education policy takes a span of 10 years to show what exactly your education policy could have been and what implications it has. So we need to realize that there are certain things that can be done in a snap. There are certain things that will show up in the later years, and we need to understand that. Especially when we talk of education, when you start a child educating a child, it takes 10 years for him to reach a level where he is able to tell you, yes, you have taught me this, and this is the way I'm going to conduct myself. So we need to be patient where it is. Yet again, we need to be very quick in action, because 10 years from now means it's going to go like that.
Then maybe our kids are going to tell you that we are free, and this is freedom.
We are free tonight, Eva. We are free tonight. Maham Kedwai has just written, freedom is what you use to establish your independence. Independence of thought. There are many things we may not be able to do today. Society, culture, family, whatever it is. But when your thought becomes captive, that's when the problems begin. And what Hera mentioned earlier, that, blasphemy and you can't have conversations, that's what 4 minutes. I want your closing notes, and I also want comments on this. Even your generation, you said society is judgmental. Repeatedly we heard that word. Who's judgmental? It's you are the judgmental one. You would judge a girl for the way she's dressed. You would judge a boy for the way he's behaving. You would pigeonhole people, family, background, money, car, clothes. Judge. You don't take people for people. And your generation, exactly. And Mom, I'm short on time, but my mom has also said that we've started to complain more because an element of frustration has embedded itself within us due to constant bad news. I don't blame the bad news for it. I just blame it because maybe, I don't know, apathy or whatever. So please, your quick closing notes. Any comments on that? Judgmentalism. You need to remove from that, and you have to stand with each other when there's something good. Please, your comments.
First of all, I don't think there's any society free from judgment. So we need to live with that, and we need to learn how to live with that. And second, just as you mentioned that education is the most powerful tool or weapon we have, then again, education gives us lesser excuse to be idle, to be lazy. If I have education, if I have that piece of thing that is placed in front of you, I have lesser excuse to be less productive.
To be ignorant.
Exactly.
Ignorance
so that is where
I
become more responsible. And the day I start taking more responsibility is the day that this change will start.
Love it.
I think we need to start making our kids question things instead of making them follow certain orders or follow what's written in the book. Teach them how to question things. And apart from that, I think what's more that can be done is the fact that there are certain bad things about our country, but let's forget what's bad and let's try to promote new things. We have social media, we have cell phones with us all the time, we have all the fancy DSLRs that we go.
It's communication.
And, that we go to our khalas, sisters, Mehndi, and take pictures on. Why not let's capture some good things with our DSLRs?
Absolutely. Sorry.
What we need to learn is to respect first, and then teach our younger generation to respect the elders, the society, whatever things that they have been blessed with. There are so many people out there who might not even have a privilege of eating twice a day a complete meal. So let's be, a bit respectful towards the things that have been blessed to us.
I think exposure is very important. As where society is concerned, the younger generations also today, they are exposed to much more than as to what we were when we were 7 or 8. Today's kids, you see them playing with iPhones and iPads. They're doing things which even I wouldn't know what to do. My younger cousin, he beats me on certain games on Xbox. They've become that good.
Just smart things.
No, no, but just generally saying that they are way ahead of what we used to be.
The exposures are completely different.
Exposures definitely different. They're on Facebook. They're all over the internet. They know what they're doing. So they might actually, I think the younger generation actually might be able to do something.
Okay. Well, I would like to say that yes, social media is very strong. Revolutions have taken place through social media. Yes, we can change everything with the help of social media, with due respect for every person that is involved, and with education in our hands. Yes, everything is involved, and I think that is going to bring a change in us and in the society.
Just as you said that the younger generation will do it and they're far ahead. The thing is, we're going to lose respect if we don't keep up the pace. They're not going to listen to us when they grow older. So we need to keep
Children
up
are
the pace,
brats
or we are
these
no
days.
more tomorrow.
What I'm finding quite hilarious here, that these 5 people have talked about younger generation kids. Like, isn't this some old foggies? You guys are the younger generation, for God's sake. Who are you? You're mashallah young. May God give you strength. You are the strength of this country. One thing I would like to say, it's a bit bitter for me. I see a lot of discussion. Thank God it's not happening so much now, but it's still happening. But the past year, I think last year was in discussion, fashionable, to talk about why Pakistan came into existence. Was it right or wrong? What was the Qaid's philosophy? Was it right or get over it? It's been 66 years. Honor, understand, value that you're free. Doesn't matter what happened 66 years ago. Right or wrong, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. All I know is I was born free. I am free to be who I am, who I want to be. I am free to take my decisions. I am free to go to my mosques and my temples. I am free to educate myself. I am free to travel. I am free to sleep. I am free to eat. I am free to do whatever I want to do. And I'm free to hold myself accountable. If I'm making bad choices, it's my bad choice. I have no justification, excuse for making bad choices anymore. Understand your freedom. Stop questioning it. God forbid if you lose it. Until next time.